Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'm so excited because I'm going to be sharing 20 tips for shooting your very first wedding. Now maybe this is your first wedding or your second or your third. Hopefully these tips will still be relatable for you just because they're coming from my own experience, and everybody has a different experience. So I'm going to share these tips with you guys. Hopefully they'll help you, so stay tuned and we'll get right into it. And for those of you that are new to my channel, I'm a fine art wedding photographer based in Toronto, Canada. I do workshops, I do mentor sessions, I have some online courses, so I'll make sure to link all of that below so you guys can check it out. And let's get right into today's video. Okay, so in today's video, I'm going to be going over these tips fairly quickly since there's 20 of them. So I'll just kind of go through them in point form, and then I'll share a little bit into depth or some stories behind some of them. So number one is meditate. So every morning before a wedding, I'm always spending time in prayer, whether that's 15 minutes, 20 minutes, or an hour. As much time as I can, really. I like to spend time just visualizing how the day's gonna go, making sure that I'm prepared mentally and emotionally to be there the whole day, to be present, to soak in every moment, and to really make sure that I'm capturing these special moments for the bride and groom. Number two is declarations. So I will spend time in the morning declaring things over myself. So that way when you show up to the wedding, you're feeling a lot more confident and you believe in yourself, which is hugely important for being a wedding photographer, is believing in yourself, trusting yourself, and having that confidence. And so I'll link some declarations that I use below. They are Christian because I am a Christian and I love Jesus. So I will share those declarations below and hopefully you find them really helpful. Number three is having a gear checklist. So I'll write down everything that I need on the wedding day, from my lenses to my batteries, to my camera bodies, to flashes, to reflectors. I'll make sure I have my whole gear list written out and things that I need to bring. And so that way in the morning I'm going through, I'm checking off each thing. And then even before I leave the house, I'm making sure that all the boxes were checked. It's a good habit to get into doing that, because as soon as you stop doing that and you feel like you know everything off by heart, that'll be the wedding where you forget just one thing. Number four is making sure that you bring snacks and water. Now, I like to bring some healthy protein bars because that'll keep me full throughout the day. So I'll usually bring just a couple protein bars, some extra ones for my second photographer, and then of course some water as well. Number five is to print the timeline and bring it with you. I like to almost memorize the timeline, so before I even start the day, I already can see in my head how everything's gonna go. This kind of ties back to the visualization part of my morning. So that way I'll know exactly when the ceremony is gonna be, how much time we have for photos, all of those different little things. I kind of already have an idea in my head of how it's gonna go down, how fast I need to move throughout the day. Now, I really work with my couples on their timeline, but in the beginning when I was just starting out, I had no idea of what a timeline was supposed to look like. So a lot of the time I was just showing up and kind of going with the flow. But now I really educate my clients and spend time planning it with them. So if they're planning to do portraits midday when the sun is really bright, I'm making sure that we're not going to be shooting in an open field or an open vineyard, that we're going to have a location to go to that has shade. So again, as you grow in your experience and in your knowledge, you'll be able to work with the couples a bit more and make sure that the photos turn out even more amazing. Number six is a questionnaire. So about 6 weeks before the wedding day, I send my couples a questionnaire, and it has lots of details from the bride and groom's parents' names to their bridal party and everybody's roles. And then it also has a section on the family photo list. So I actually already have like a pre-made list with bride and groom, with bride's family, bride and groom with bride's mom. But then they can also customize it. They can add different things. And then I also make sure to mention that we only have time for so many different groupings. So if you do go over 10 different groupings, then we may not have enough time to get to those ones. But having that questionnaire and having that family photo list is really important, so that way on the wedding day I can have my second shooter holding that list and checking the names off as we go through it. That way she's in control of that. I'm just shooting, I'm just directing the couple and directing the families, and we're not missing any important photos, because I have had that happen. If you watched my last video, then you would have heard that story. But I did forget a really important photo when I was just starting out, and ever since then I've always used a family photo list, and it is key to making sure that you get every shot. And for that questionnaire, I do use Sprout Studios, which is an online software, and that comes with a pre-made template for the wedding day questionnaire. So that's really helpful. And then I just added in my own little boxes, different things that I came up with. So it's definitely worth looking into Sprout Studios, because I do use them to manage all my clients, my contracts, my invoices, my galleries. It's like an all-in-one software. So the more weddings that you get, that's something that you want to look into. You might not need it when you only have 5 weddings a year, but if you're looking at 10 or 15 weddings a year, I would say it's worth looking into and seeing if you need it. Number 7 is your second photographer, having good communication. So if I'm working with someone new that I've never worked with before, I make sure that I either call them the day before the wedding or some weeks before the wedding, or we're meeting up an hour before the actual wedding on the day, and I'll make sure to go over my expectations. So which lenses I want them to use, the type of style. I mean, I've already chosen them because I like their style, but I like to kind of clarify what lenses they're gonna use, what kind of shots I want. During the bridal party portraits, I like them to have a really long lens on, whether that's the 85mm or the 135, and that way they can shoot from an angle as I'm shooting front, and they can get close-ups of the bridal party laughing and just everybody having fun. The more candids, the better, in my opinion, so that's what I'll have them doing. But I like to clarify all of that with them beforehand, so that way they know my expectations, because everybody's shooting style is so different, so it's hard to know what somebody wants. Number 8 is an emergency kit. So this will come in really handy maybe every 5 weddings or so. It's not often that you need to use it, but by having an emergency kit where you have like a sewing needle, some thread, some band-aids, and some double-sided tape, these will all come in really handy. I remember my second shooter would always carry this around. Her name's Angelica, and it would always come in handy, and so I realized myself that I needed to get one. And I remember one time the bride's strap had actually broken off her dress just before walking down the aisle, and thankfully my second shooter came to the rescue with the needle and the thread and was able to put it back together. So having a little kit like that on a wedding day makes a huge difference, and it's also just going out of your way for your couples. So number 9, know which side your clients like to be photographed on. And I know this sounds really funny, but people do have preferences whether they want their right side to be photographed or their left side to be photographed. And I actually did have a bride come back one time a few years ago pretty upset because she felt like most of the images were photographed on her bad side. And so after that, I realized even more that I need to make sure which side my couples like to be photographed on and what their preference is. Some couples will kind of laugh about it because they've never even thought about it, but some couples really know, particularly the bride, they really know which side is their favorite. So don't forget to ask that, whether that's during the engagement session that you ask, or it's on the phone, or it's on the wedding day, maybe in the morning as she's getting ready. You can kind of ask her in private. Number 10 is a simple one. It's know your camera. So make sure you know the in and outs of your camera. You know how to shoot in manual mode. You're not messing around with the settings. You know how to use your camera. And I think that's really important because wedding days are so fast. You don't want to be fooling around trying to figure something out, or if something goes wrong and you don't know how to change it back. I've been in scenarios like that and it's not a fun feeling. Your heart just sinks. So make sure you know what every dial, what every button does on your camera, and that way you can be really quick with capturing the moments. Number 11, have a backup camera. So don't just go to your first wedding with one camera. Make sure that you do have a reliable backup just in case anything happens. Or at least make sure that your second shooter has a good camera as well. Worst case scenario, you could use theirs. You want to make sure that they're okay with that first. Now, it's not likely that anything will ever happen, but worst case scenario, you want to be prepared. Number 12, back up to 2 memory cards. So make sure you always have 2 cards in the slots. Usually it's an SD and a CF card. Mirrorless cameras, you only get 2 SD slots, but make sure that you're always taking full use of those, that you are backing up onto 2. I've had some crazy stories where 1 card worked and 1 card didn't, and also my second shooter didn't even use the second card, so she was only backing up onto 1, and that one failed, and so I had to do this whole recovery software on it. So make sure that you are using both backup slots, because you never know, it could come in handy and it could save your life. Number 13, keep it simple. So don't try to shoot with 3 different cameras and 4 different lenses. Make sure you keep it simple, especially when it's your first wedding. I personally will shoot on 1 camera with 1 lens pretty much the whole day. So usually I'm shooting with like a 50mm probably 80% of the day, and then I'll have an 85mm on for some of the candid moments, for some of the reception. But typically I'm only using 2 lenses for the most part, and 1 camera, maybe 2 cameras during the ceremony. So keep it simple for yourself. Don't try to get caught up in buying a bunch of different lenses, having a huge collection. Just stick to 1 or 2 and really make the most out of those lenses. Number 14, be kind to everyone. I know it's hard on a wedding day when, even if it's your first one, you kind of get a little bit stressed out and a little bit anxious, but make sure that you're smiling at everyone, you're being kind to everyone, you're being helpful. I like to start conversations with people, so I'll talk with the mother of the bride or the bridesmaids and just kind of get familiar with them, because that will make them more comfortable that you're there. And it also is good for referrals, because in the beginning it really is all about getting those referrals. So if the bridesmaids connect with you, then they're going to remember you when they need a photographer in the future. Number 15, we're almost there, guys. Number 15 is arrive early. So don't leave for the wedding just so you make it there right on scheduled time. Make sure that you are giving yourself an extra 30 minutes to an hour. Now, if the wedding is closer for me and it's not too far, I don't need an hour. Maybe I'll just give myself 30 minutes extra, so that way I can show up early, I can be prepared, I can get all my equipment out, and that way I'm starting earlier than the time scheduled. If you do have a wedding that is a few hours away or even an hour away, make sure that you are giving yourself enough time in case there's any traffic, in case you get a flat tire, or just anything could happen. So make sure that, especially on your first wedding, that you are showing up early, so that way you can sit in your car, you can again do your declarations or just remind yourself and visualize, and then when you walk in there, you're super confident and you're ready to go. Also, don't feel like you need to leave right away. Also, I think it's a good idea to give your couples a little bit extra time at the end of the night. So especially if this is your first wedding, it might be good to practice and stay there for an extra 15 or 20 minutes. Don't go and give them an hour or something extra, but it looks really good if you do stay a little bit longer, and again, you make those connections and just show that you're really enjoying the wedding and that you're going out of your way for your couples. Number 16 is style. So I know a lot of people will say style over comfort, but on a wedding day, when you're standing for 8, 9, 10, 12 hours, you really want to make sure that your feet are going to hold up and that your back will feel good by the end of a wedding day. So I have these sandals that I like to wear. I'll put them right here. They're Steve Madden, really comfortable sandals, and I highly recommend them. I have the 2 different colors as well. And then this jumpsuit is from Aritzia. I love their jumpsuits that they have there. I feel like they're really good quality. They are a little bit expensive, but just know that it will last you for 1 or 2 years. So if you just buy maybe 1 or 2 jumpers, and then they just become a staple in your outfit. You don't need to wear a different outfit at each wedding. I think it's good to keep it consistent and just wear something that you feel confident in, that fits the wedding. So if it is a higher end wedding, I do want to make sure that I am wearing really fancy earrings, maybe a really fancy watch, that I am matching the style of that wedding. And then if I'm shooting on the beach, I'll probably go a little bit more casual. I'll wear flip-flops. So you want to make sure that you know the style of the wedding so that you can fit in and look the part as well. Number 17 is umbrellas. So I like to carry maybe 5 or 6 clear umbrellas. 4 of them will just be from the dollar store, and then I'll have 1 really nice quality one that I've spend maybe $15 or $20 on, and that one is for the bride and the groom. But I love having these backup umbrellas just in case there is a scenario where it's raining and they still want to do portraits outside. At least for them, I'll have that really nice clear one which photographs well, and typically they're bringing their own umbrellas for the whole bridal party. That's something that I mentioned to them as well, because I don't want to have to give away my umbrellas unless we're in a dire situation. Otherwise, I never get my umbrellas back, and I've had that scenario before where I didn't get them back, and so I lost the money there. Okay, just 2 more tips. Hopefully this has been helpful for you guys so far. Number 19 is to know the ceremony timeline. So you want to make sure that when you get to the ceremony that you go talk to the priest or the officiant, whoever it is, and you ask them what the order of the ceremony is. You want to know when the first kiss is going to happen and then when they're exchanging vows, so you don't miss those moments. Because sometimes it will catch you off guard. Not every wedding is the same. Sometimes they'll do the first kiss before they sign the registry, and then sometimes they'll do it after they've signed, before they exit back down the aisle. So make sure you know when they're doing that first kiss so that you aren't surprised and that you can be in the best spot, which is usually in the aisleway, to get their full bodies for that first kiss. And some priests will also say it very quietly, so when they announce the bride and groom and tell them to kiss, they'll say it so quietly that you have no idea that it's coming. So that's why I like to know what's going to happen just before the first kiss. And lastly, number 20 is have fun. So you want to take this seriously, of course, this is your business, but also just remember to have fun. Enjoy the couple, enjoy the day. Some things probably will go wrong, but it is always a learning lesson, and you just have to know how you're going to react in those scenarios. And that's why the meditation will help beforehand, because when those scenarios do arise and you might have to problem solve, then at least you'll be able to do it in a calm manner and be able to produce the best scenario. So that just make sure that you're smiling the whole time that you're talking to guests, and that way hopefully you'll get some referrals from that wedding and you'll be able to continue to grow your business and get more clients. I know it's a bit easier said than done, especially on the first wedding, but I promise you after a few weddings and then now after 100 weddings, you'll start getting more and more comfortable and you won't have to think as much. You begin to really know a wedding day. So when I show up now, nothing is really unexpected. I kind of know how everything's gonna go. I've witnessed a lot of different scenarios happen, so I've become really good at problem solving. So that way I can enjoy a wedding day and I laugh and I can smile, I can have fun. And I know that is a little bit trickier in the beginning. So just know that it's okay if your first wedding isn't the craziest experience, it's not the most amazing, but it will get better as you become better. Well, that's it for now. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, and also feel free to share this with a friend. Maybe you have other friends that are just starting out or people that are interested in getting into wedding photography, so feel free to share this video with them. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you in the next video.